I've found that there's this perception out there amongst agents that in order to be successful in real estate in 2023, you have to be spending thousands of dollars on leads every single month. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of purchasing leads. In fact, I provide the agents on my local production team with phone verified hot leads every single month, and we spend a lot of money to do that. It is one way to build a successful real estate business, but it's not the only way. I know that there's a lot of agents out there. Maybe you're a new agent and you just don't have the budget to go and spend thousands of dollars on leads a month. Maybe it's just not your vision for your business. Maybe you want to be more sphere of influence and referral. And so I want to encourage you that buying leads is not the only way to be successful. Today, I'm going to be introducing you to an agent in my local marketplace who in the last 12 months has sold 32 homes. And get this, not a single one was from a paid lead source. So before we jump into the conversation, as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel.
This last year has definitely been the most productive in the fact of like how much volume of real estate I've sold. I think year to year, I've probably sold this many homes, but I guess the sheer volume of homes I've sold this has been the most. But anyway, I've sold, I think around 35, maybe a little bit more homes. And then I know I've sold over 10 million in the last from July to July. So it's been busy. Awesome. I've made the top 10 at Chamberlain. It has over 300 agents, I think about 6 times in the last year. So it's, when you hit the top 10, you've had a busy month. So
yeah, for sure.
I've definitely had some busyness. Yeah.
Congrats. That's amazing. Well above average production for an agent. So I think that's awesome. So am I correct in understanding that the source of your business is really sphere of influence and referrals?
Right. Yeah. So definitely the first 2 full years of real estate, I did buy, and I was very cheap. I bought very little, but I did buy some Zillow leads, and a little bit of momentum kind of came from that. And I did make a little bit of money off of that instead of going in the hole. I did 1 year, I did decent. And then the second year, I think I broke completely even. But for the last 2 years, everything has been, past clients, sphere of influence, referrals, and all of that. So I don't buy any leads of any sort.
That's awesome. So what are you doing? I mean, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, what are you doing to kind of cultivate and steward your sphere of influence so that you're actually getting business from them?
Well, this is where I feel is so much different than I'm aware of you. I do post on social media, a fair amount. I don't post nearly as much as I should, but what I have realized had never had any type of marketing history of any sort. But then I realized pretty quickly, I kind of like the whole marketing part of, getting a listing and then figuring out how to market it the best that you possibly can. And I pretty quickly learned that I do like to do listing videos. And so I'll be in them and I use them on social media. And then I use another portion of it to kind of make sure that it's listed well. And so people are able to have a walkthrough video with any listing of mine. But I think through that, it seems that it has definitely I must come to mind when they need some real estate. Yeah. So my church family has been huge for me in that. It's been such a pleasure and honor to, be able to help them. Every time somebody picks up the phone and calls me, I feel very honored and blessed. So I really don't, this is probably not going along with your theme of your podcast.
No,
but
I want you to be honest.
I don't pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I thought I think you've been, wanting to buy and sell. I mean, I just really don't. The only thing I do is if I run into somebody that I know is looking for a home, I'll set them up on a search. And then I have those listings actually when they come available, they're sent to me. They're not sent to this client usually, and they're sent to me. And then I sift through what I feel like might be beneficial to them. And then when I see something that they'll like, then I send it to them. So, I may have somebody that I know is looking for a house and they may not get a text from me with the listing, but maybe every 3 weeks. But they know I'm looking, but I'm not being annoying. I'm trying to just be helpful. And that's kind of how I do it.
I like that. No, I got to say, I don't know that I've ever heard an agent tell me they're not really setting their clients up on searches, but they're setting themselves up for their clients. So I think that's cool. What jumps out to me is that like the human touch, right? Because we live in the world of AI these days, right? Everything's automated, everything is this. And so I could see how that could stand out for your clients. So I love that. I think that's a really cool way to add a real personal touch to how you're reaching out to your community and serving your clients. So I like that.
Kevin, I had one particular guy, I'll say, I sold him and his little family, cute, adorable family, a house this year. And I had an open house on a listing of mine. And if I'm going to do an open house on a listing of mine, at all costs, I try to do it. I don't do very many, I'll be honest. I feel like I would have more business if I did, but I tend to have a lot of people that don't even really want an open house. So, but this was a particular home last summer, early actually, last spring, and he had came through, him and his family, and we just kind of hit it off with talking and just talked because he was the only one there. And we talked and talked and talked. And then somehow or another, I said, hey, well, if you want me to help you, I'll kind of like be on the lookout. Sure. And he gave me his contact info. I didn't even have anything there for people to sign in or anything. But we just shared contact info. And then he had been put off by previous real estate agents being pushy. He felt pushy, whether they were or not, I don't know, but pushy. And then, just a lot of begging. So with him, I knew and I handled him just like I do anyone else, but I set him up on what he told me he was looking for. And then whenever there was remotely anything, I would send it to him. And he always seemed incredibly grateful that I was doing this fielding for him. And he commented. And so we looked at probably through that year, we probably looked at, he would send stuff and maybe he would comment one way or another. And then we probably officially looked at maybe 4 or 5 that whole year, but I just had him in my queue. It would just come to me and it would just say, if homes popped up for him. And we were getting pretty narrow by this point because I've kind of gotten to know him pretty well. Well, then one popped up that I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to go see this house. So I sent it to him and I texted him and I said, we need to go see this house today. Sure. And he was like, oh my gosh, I hadn't seen this yet. Sure enough, we'll go look at it. It's his today. So, and we actually won a multiple offer situation in that deal too. But he was a great buyer because he had, a lot to, so anyway, and so he just continually felt very grateful that I was somebody that, I wasn't pushy. I'd only, he might not hear from me for a month, but then I'm like, hey, this popped up and just thinking of you, just wondered if this may be something you might be interested in. And he would be like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. So anyway, like you said, that little human touch, because yes, another thing that's kind of different is that I've never ever used a, where you put all your contacts in. I'm trying to even think of
a CRM.
Never even used a CRM.
Never used it. Oh, listeners, don't listen to Sherry. Just kidding. Don't,
because my CRM is my setup searches.
But you do, right? Because you're using YLOBO. No. Okay. Where are you doing it on the MLS?
I'm doing it on the MLS.
Okay.
I said, so I'm probably extremely old school, and that's
you're cracking me up. I love it though.
So I set up a search on MLS because if it's somebody that it's like, it's a hot, you really got to look at that list, because what have we been in our, in the last year and a half, 2 years, so many times you better be ready to look at that today.
Yeah.
So I send, depending on who it is, it's usually ASAP that it'll come to me. So I'll know, okay, well, and maybe I get 4 emails in one day for the same client. Doesn't happen very often, but I'll kind of, maybe I miss one. That's okay. But for, this particular person, this guy bought a $600,000 house. And so I was very patient with him. Yeah. And I don't use any CRM or anything. That's how I use it. And that's how, and
so my listings, I love it.
They just call me. Yeah. So.
But I love it because here's why I love it. Although I'm a big CRM proponent, I love it because you're a top agent at one of the bigger brokerages in town. And I just remember, let me back up for a second. I remember being a new agent and looking at other top agents and always thinking to myself, like, how do they do this? I don't understand where their business is coming from. It seemed so mystical to me, seemed like they knew these secrets I didn't know. And so it's fun to get under the hood of your business a little bit. And really what I'm hearing you say is like, I sincerely try to help people. I try to have a real genuine human touch. I try to show up as best as I can on social media, but I do know that you're consistent and you've been consistent over, 4.5 years. And I'm like, man, in the last 12 months, you sold over 30 homes, which is saying, that's a lot in general. The statistic I saw most recently is that the average agent sells 10 to 12 homes a year, and you've sold over 30 in a really hard market, right? Like we all know about 6 to 8 months ago, when interest rates went up, things just got hard. And so I love your business and I love your story because I think hopefully it's encouraging to those listening that it's like, there's not some secret formula. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on leads a month. You don't necessarily have to have a CRM, although I would personally encourage it. You don't have to, but you said you don't have a CRM, but what you've found a way to do, Sherry, is set up a system where things are coming to you and things aren't falling through the cracks, right? So you may not have a CRM in the traditional sense, but you have built a system for you that allows you to keep your clients top of mind. So you're not going to forget, and it allows you to serve them. At the end of the day, that's kind of what the goal of a CRM anyway. And so I love that. I think it's awesome.
Well, I mean, I'll be the first to admit, if I was a little bit more systematic and probably had a CRM, knew how to use a CRM and could use it well, I might have had more business. But you also heard the first part that I'm also a mom. I mean, I'm a wife. And I mean, there's only so much that, I'm not looking to be the top agent. Real estate has definitely changed our life for sure. It has definitely been a massive blessing, and it has been so much fun because I do feel like I have that heart that I just turned from nursing, from like helping people and having that mentality, being the mom, being the helper, and just transferring that over to my clients. And so the other thing, obviously, that I do think is probably key is that I'm very accessible. And sometimes that can be very difficult.
Too accessible.
I have literally, I have literally been on the ski slopes in Colorado, and every time we got on the ride, I'd pull out my phone and I would answer a question that I had. It's like, and I know there should be boundaries, but at time, if it had been nothing at that point in time, I probably would just wait until at least the end of the day and then call. But it was kind of one of those very kind of needy situations for a reason. And so I answered her pretty promptly and quite often through my entire vacation. So it's like being very accessible, I think, has definitely been helpful. So that's probably part of it as well. But I am very old school. I'm over 50 and I'm, have a nursing background. I went to college and we just didn't have the computer system. So all of that CRM thing, it was just too much energy for me to learn it. And so I just never did. And so I just do my own thing, and
I love it.
Worked out well. And, it's interesting, the statistics, I never really heard that I didn't really realize how many, what's average for an agent. So that's interesting to hear.
Yeah.
So.
But, you shared a lot of stuff I want to make sure our listeners are catching, because one of the things that I think you've done, so really the goal in the heart of the Prosperous Agent is to help agents find time, freedom, and financial abundance. And one of the things I talk about is the importance of identifying like what success means to you, because I think if you're not careful, it's easy to get into this industry and it's almost like success is pushed on us. Like, well, you have to be making 6 figures a year, or you have to be selling so many homes. And so then agents kill themselves trying to reach what they feel like is success in our industry, as opposed to saying, hold up, what does success mean for me in my family, in my season, right? Like you said, I have a 6, 4, and 1-year-old. I'm not able to be as accessible. Now, do I still occasionally do stuff on weekends, vacation nights? Sure. But I'm probably less accessible than you are because we're in different seasons of life. And so what I love that you've done, and what I want to emphasize for our listeners, is you have identified, hey, this is my season. This is what success means for my family. I don't need to go sell 100 homes a year, and I don't know if you have a goal or not, and I don't even know that matters, but you've found a way to create the time, freedom, and the financial abundance kind of within your world. And so I just want to commend you for that. And I want to encourage our listeners to identify, what does success mean for you? It may not mean the brand new luxury car and all the things. Like, who cares? Like, identify for you. And those are conversations even my wife and I are having right now of like, am I building a business that serves me, or am I building a business where I feel like I'm a servant to it? And I think there's a tension there, and it's not always easy and it's not always black and white, but I just wanted to emphasize that, because as you're kind of sharing, that's what's jumping out to me, is that you've kind of been able to build this around your season and around your family. And I think that's awesome. So,
oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I'll interject a little something too, that one of the things I've never really understood, and maybe I just don't have the right mindset, I don't know, but I've really never understood like setting a goal of, I want to sell this many homes or make this much this year, whenever our goal is to help people. Our goal is to help people into the homes. For me, I just feel like if I ever have that mindset that I've got a goal, that I've got to sell this many homes or make this much money, then then I'll put pressure on myself, then it'll outcome to put pressure on a client, which I would never want to do, to move them into a home that they weren't ready. If you remember, do you remember early on, and you called me Mama Sherry or something like that, because I didn't want this gal to buy this home. I didn't feel like it was right for her. But it's one of those. So I kind of really never understood that. I'm like, how do you make goals? I mean, how would you make a goal to sell this many homes? Because if you do all the processes, like if you do all the processes you do in your business, that success is going to come. If I do the processes about how I want to do my business, and I am sending homes to people who are looking for homes, and I answer the phone calls, and I go and I market every listing I have to the most extreme possibility that I can, that I have at my disposal, then success is going to come my way. And I'm not going to, put some constraint about it and feel that I've not accomplished something if I've only sold 22 homes this year and sold 6 million. I mean, why would that be a negative thing in this year when I've just helped 22 people get into homes? That's kind of more of, I kind of never understood the goal setting with this, because our goal shouldn't be driving people to do something that may or may not be. Whenever you've got people calling you and you are serving them and you're serving them to the best of your ability, then you're going to sell homes. And it's like, and God's going to take care of the rest. It's kind of how I look at it. But.
Yeah, I love it. I'm with you. I've always I struggled with the whole goal thing of like, okay, if you want to sell 100 homes, write down 100 homes. And then, I mean, my mind's like, I'm going to show up every day and work hard and be faithful. Maybe I saw 100 homes. Maybe I don't, there's so much in this industry you can't control, right?
Right.
So
that's my point. You can't control. Exactly. You can't control when a pandemic hits. You can't control when interest rates rise. You can't control whenever your buyer loses their job. I mean, there's so much you cannot control. And if you stress yourself out about setting goals whenever that's really not the point in the first place, then that you're putting extra stress on yourself than need be. That's my point. So.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I one more question for sure I want to ask you as we kind of land this thing. What would be, I want you to imagine that someone's listening to this podcast right now. They're frustrated, they're discouraged, they're struggling in this market. I mean, what would be, your advice to help them?
Goodness.
Put you on the spot.
Well, I just don't feel like I've got any special formula that really helps people. I feel like just kind of give yourself a break. I mean, I realize when if you need a paycheck, here's the advice, the only advice that I can think that would remotely be helpful. When you do get a paycheck, when you do leave the closing table, you have not spent that money at all until you have left the closing table. And then when you leave that closing table, you better make sure that there's some in savings. There's some to pay the taxes, and then pay yourself with whatever you can do to help bring more business. So the videos that I do, for example, I do are extremely expensive. And I feel like some people might choose not to do that because of the expense. For me, I feel like, and this is just kind of my branding. So, obviously you got to brand yourself in some kind of way. This is my branding. It's not everyone's branding. I'm not expecting anyone else to think it this way, but I feel like how I have the money to be able to spend on the videos is because I've not spent every ounce of that, on unnecessary things. I mean, like if we're paying medical bills, or we're paying for our child's orthodontics, or we're putting gas in the car, that's different. But if there's any left over because you haven't went out and spent it on frivolous things, then spend it on yourself to increase your business.
Hey guys, I want to thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope that it was encouraging to you and added value to your real estate business. Hey, 2 things I want to mention really quickly. If you are an agent who is in my local marketplace, Central Oklahoma, and you're interested in potentially joining my team, getting phone verified hot leads, consistent coaching, accountability, do me a favor. There's a link below this video where you can book a call with my team to have that conversation and really explore what we offer as a team. If you're an agent watching this, not in my local marketplace, but you're interested in being compensated more for doing what you're already doing, receiving world-class free social media training, weekly mastermind calls, and really just taking your business to the next level, there is a link below this video for you as well. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. I'll see you in the next video.